Welcome to episode 13 of Run the Length. Before we get into the episode, I want to point you to my Patreon. I have reworked the pledge goals and introduced custom status effect tokens that are exclusive to Run the Length. I think they turned out great. Go check them out. My opponent this week is Pat Van Value. Pat is famous for being one of the hosts of Strictly the Worst Guild Ball podcast. At the time of this recording, Pat is currently ranked 39th in the world and 13th in the United States. He is also the number 1 ranked Brewers player in the world. We select plots. I end up with Match Fixing, Brace for Impact, and Heroic Landing. Pat's plots are Who Are Ya, Man Marking, and Good Marker. The terrain on this board is a barrier at the top, then moving down we have Rough Terrain, 3 obstacles, and Fast Terrain at the bottom. We move on to the draft. As always, there's a link in the description that will allow you to skip the draft and get straight into the game. I am experimenting a little with my standard Alchemists roster. Here I'm playing all the normal stuff, except I have swapped Harry for Decimate. The idea is to give up a bit of my AoE dominance and some of my pushing power in order to make Midas much more playable and increase my momentous damage output. Also, Second Wind can be very powerful on Catalyst or Calculus. Pat's roster is Shark, Corsair, Tentacles, Grayscales, Hag, Jack, Sakana, Siren, Siren 2, and Gutter. The most notable thing here is he is playing Gutter over Avarice and Greed. He is trading damage for some more control. We reveal captains. I select Smoke and Flask. Pat picks Corsair and Tentacles. Nothing too surprising coming out of Pat here. The Corsair is very strong into Alchemists due to having all the defensive tech that Alcs hate to see, and Tentacles is hands down the best mascot in Fish. I choose to play Smoke here for a few reasons, the largest one being that Midas struggles in this matchup due to close control and crowdouts. Conditions get around Tough Hide and allow me to threaten Corsair's safety. I win the roll and choose to receive. This is a big deal. In this matchup, whoever starts with the ball essentially starts 4 points up. I draft Calculus. Blind is a very strong way to control a Def 3 captain. Pat picks Hag. He needs her to extend his threat range. I pick Mercury. No surprise here, I need the AoE throwers to play Smoke. Pat picks Gutter. Gutter is super dangerous for me, since if she can get onto Vet Cat, she can have an explosive amount of damage and pull anyone into her Scything Blow zone with chain grabs. I pick Decimate. I think there is some argument to be made as to how I should disguise my picks in this situation. It is either hide which cat I am going to play, or whether I'm going to play Decimate or Vitriol. Pat picks Siren 1. Here I think most players would see my team of all TAC 4 models and be tempted to use Siren 2. But Pat makes the correct call and plays Siren 1 for her ability to close the gap against this Smoke list. I pick Cat 2. Pat's final pick is Sakana, another model that can help him close the gap, and due to anatomical, can do whatever he wants to Vet Cat. Pat deploys from top to bottom. We have Gutter, Hag, Tentacles, Corsair, Siren, and at the bottom Sakana. Siren is kicking. I deploy Flask at the top, then moving down we have Decimate, Smoke, Cat 2, Calculus, and Mercury. I have made a slight mistake here. I want to keep Decimate central so I can place a meaningful Second Wind on Calculus, but by doing so I have made my ability to get the ball on the top of the screen somewhat poor. Siren kicks off, and Pat goes for a greedy angled kick, hoping to punish my deployment. The kick does not pay off for him, and the ball ends up between Flask and Decimate. I allocate. I place 2 on Decimate, 5 on Smoke, 3 on Calculus, and 3 on Mercury. Pat allocates. He gives 1 to Gutter, 2 to Hag, 3 to Siren, 6 to Corsair, and 1 to Sakana. I activate Flask, drop a Smoke Cloud, then jog to the ball and back toward the line. Pat sprints Gutter to midfield. I jog Catalyst behind Calculus and Smoke. Pat sprints Sakana to the cover. I activate Mercury, sprint behind the cover, and throw a Fire Blast near Siren. The reason we do this is because the most important part of keeping Corsair away is preventing him from using drag on my models. He can't pull them over obstacles, so we're standing behind one. Pat jogs Tentacles up. I activate Decimate, Second Wind Calculus, and jog behind Smoke. Pat activates Hag and uses Shadow-like. She then uses Talisman to Fisher's Real Corsair for free, dodging him 2 inches forward. Then she spends 1 influence to use it again on Siren to dodge her around the AoE. She jogs up the field right behind Gutter. Then she uses Fisher's Reel on Gutter. I activate Calculus, jog towards Gutter, and throw a Noxious Blast on Gutter. I hit it, dealing 2 damage and poisoning Gutter. I then use Second Wind to jog behind Mercury. Pat activates Siren and sprints through the fire AoE and lures Catalyst. I activate Smoke. Here I am super worried about getting Catalyst dragged to his death. I consider putting Smoke in front of him until I realize that Corsair is outside of 10 inches and I can stop the drag just by lighting him on fire with Smoke. I jog Smoke to within 6 inches of both of the AoEs. I duplicate the fire AoE and push the fire AoE into Sakana. I push the other fire AoE into Corsair and Tentacles. I push the poison AoE into Siren. I then place a Smoke Cloud and Cloud Jumper into it. Pat activates Corsair and sprints forward. This ends the turn. I win the roll and choose to go first. I allocate. I place 1 on Flask, 2 on Decimate, 2 on Catalyst, 3 on Calculus, 2 on Mercury, 3 on Smoke. The plan here is to get a Witness Me off. If I don't manage it, the game will spiral out of control very quickly. Assuming that we succeed, there's just the need to go back to controlling Corsair. Pat allocates 3 to Sakana, 4 to Corsair, 4 to Gutter. I activate Catalyst. I have to Witness Me, and I have 2 targets to pick from. I can go for Gutter or Siren. Gutter is on 10 HP, but it might as well be 11 since she can counterattack and gain a life off Life Drinker. The other is Siren on 7 HP. Killing Gutter would make the game pretty much an auto win for me, since it would guarantee another turn of non-interaction. I end up going after Siren here, since my gut tells me that it's way easier, and I cannot stress enough how bad missing the Witness Me would be. Catalyst charges Siren. Pat decides not to defensive stance, and Cat does 2 damage and intensify momentously, then puts up his heroic. Cat attacks again, doing 2 damage and intensify, killing Siren, and uses Witness Me to kill himself for 2 more points. The score is now 4-2. Pat activates Gutter, glides, then charges Flask. I defensive stance. Gutter's charge does momentous 2 damage. Gutter attacks again and does momentous 2. Gutter's final attack does momentous 1. Gutter healed 3 HP from Life Drinker. She spends momentum to clear conditions. This is a pretty big miss for Pat. He was really looking to take the ball there, and on the charge it's about a 50-50, but he didn't quite get there. I activate Decimate and jog toward the wall and put Second Wind on Calculus. Pat activates Hag and uses Shadow-like, then uses Talisman to dodge Corsair, then jogs towards Flask. I activate Calculus and place a Noxious Blast on Corsair, then jogged within 8 inches of Corsair and bonus time a blind on him. Then Calculus Second Winds behind Mercury. Pat activates the Octopus and jogs forward. I activate Mercury and throw a Fire Blast on Gutter and hit it. Pat activates Sakana and charges Smoke, dealing 1 damage and a weak point. Sakana's second attack misses. I activate Flask and walk within an inch of Gutter and attack. Pat declares a counterattack. Flask does Intensify Push, and I push Gutter away. Gutter's counterattack pushes Flask towards her. This is a huge mistake. I should have pushed Gutter into base contact so she could not pull Flask closer to Corsair. Flask drops Smoke. Corsair activates, clears conditions, and sprints towards Flask and uses Rough Seas on him, stealing the ball. Corsair kicks the ball to Hag, misses the kick, and the ball scatters near the wall. I activate Smoke and pop Legendary, dealing 3 damage to Gutter and Corsair. Smoke places a Smoke Cloud and Cloud Jumpers into it. I push the poison AoEs onto Corsair and Gutter, then I jog her towards the ball. This ends the turn. Pat accidentally takes his condition damage twice. After we resolve that confusion, I win the initiative roll and choose to go first. I jog Catalyst back on near Gutter. I allocate 2 to Cat, 3 to Calculus, 2 to Mercury, and 6 to Smoke. We are looking for a Witness Me and a goal to close out the game. Pat allocates. He places 6 on Corsair, 4 on Sakana, 1 on Hag, 1 on Siren, and 1 on Tentacles. I activate Catalyst and charge Gutter, wrapping to the 1. I choose to do a momentous push and 2 damage. I put up Cat's heroic play and play heroic landing to get the momentum back. Cat attacks again, killing Gutter momentously, then uses Witness Me for 2 more points. Score is now 8-4. Pat activates Siren, jogs to pick up the ball, and kicks it to Corsair. I activate Calculus and bonus time a blind onto Corsair, hitting it. I sprint Calculus to base with Corsair and attack him, doing a momentous push. Pat activates Corsair and swings on Calculus with bonus time, knocking her down. He swings again, dealing 1 damage. Corsair swings again, dealing 2 damage. Corsair's third attack does 2 damage push. Corsair sprints and legendaries. He then kicks the goal with bonus time. Corsair sinks the goal. The score is now 8-8. I kick the ball back in and it ends up behind Smoke. Smoke sprints to pick up the ball, then drops a smoke cloud to jump into it. Smoke takes a 4-die tap-in and I hit it. Final score, 12-8. This post-game analysis is made possible by the Patreon support of viewers like you. I have tried to play the Corsair matchup for the podcast several times, and I have always ended up with a massively one-sided game, usually in Corsair's favor. The Smoke matchup radically changes the paradigm of the matchup as long as I have an obstruction to hide behind. I also think that Decimate wildly improves the matchup with her easy momentum and second wind on Calculus. In this game specifically, being able to blind Corsair and run away kept Corsair fairly useless all game. I made a fairly large misplay with Flask, allowing a goal I definitely could have prevented. But here I would like to pass the question on to you. What were our mistakes this game? Would you have made different decisions during the game? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, it helps other Guild Ball players find this video. Hit the subscribe button to know the moment I upload a new video, and share this with your friends. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.